Find more information about Neolatin at neolatino.eu. Dictionaries, grammar, conjugator, Facebook, Telegram, Discord, and more. A. La aqua. The water. Native English speakers, be careful about the pronunciation of the letter A in Neolatin. In a language like Spanish, for example, it is often said that the letter A is pronounced like the A in the English word father. Father. Ah. In reality, this explanation would be incorrect in both Spanish and, in this case, Neolatin because it is a different sound than the one you should be making. The correct pronunciation, as said before, is A. A. Like in patre. Patre, meaning father, just as another example. To give some linguistic background in all this, A is known as an open back unrounded vowel, and A, the sound you should be making, is known as an open front unrounded vowel. B. B. La bocca. The mouth. Che. Che. As you may have noticed, the name of the letter C in Neolatin has a sound like the English CH, ch. The letter C is pronounced differently according to the vowel after it. Combined with the vowels A, O, and U, we obtain the sequences ka, ko, and ku, respectively. In turn, the letters E and I produce the sequences che and chi. Although the pronunciation of the letter C before E and I may seem too Italian, according to several researchers, this pronunciation is, in fact, the original Proto-Romance form from which other pronunciations originated. Therefore, in alphabetical order, we have ka, che, chi, ko, and ku. Here are some examples of the letter C. La casa, the house. Lo cielo, the sky. It is worth noting that in order to represent the sequences ke and ki in Neolatin, you would have to use the digraph ch. This is different from Romance languages like Spanish, Portuguese, and French, which all use the digraph qu for these sequences. But more on this later. De. De. Los dentes. The teeth. E. E. Lo elefante. The elephant. The letter E can be pronounced in two ways. The first way is a closed E, like in the Portuguese word sede, e. The second way is an open E, like in the Portuguese word sete, e. The closed E is pronounced when the E does not have a diacritic or when the E has an acute diacritic, which is to say, sloping upward left to right. The open E is pronounced when the E has a grave diacritic, which is to say, sloping downward from left to right. Some examples of both the open E and closed E in Neolatin are septe, septe, meaning seven, and dente, dente, meaning tooth. It is interesting to note that the open E has left a mark in certain words in Spanish inherited from Latin, more specifically in the form of the diphthong IE, such as in the Spanish siete and diente. Effe. Effe. This variant, which comes from the Latin name, is the most widespread in the Romance languages, even forming a majority compared to the other option. Another option is fe. Fe. This variant, which exists in French and Romanian, is a minority in Romance languages. But it is more regular, since it follows the model of letters like pe, che, and de. La flore. The flower. Je. Je. Combined with the vowels A, O, and U, we obtain the sequences ga, go, and gu, respectively. The same letter combined with the vowels E and I produces the sequences J and G. In alphabetical order, we have ga, je, ji, go, and gu. Here are some examples. La gallina, the hen. Lo degeto, the finger. It is worth noting that in order to represent the sequences ge and gi, you would have to use the digraph gh. Again, this is in contrast to Romance languages like Spanish, Portuguese, and French, which all use GUE and GUI to represent ge and gi. More information about this digraph and others in another video. Akka. Akka. Similar to the pronunciation of the letter H in Romance languages in general, this letter is silent in Neolatin. L'uomine. The man. I. La isola. The island. The letter J has various names in Neolatin. One option is Ilonga. This descriptive name is used in Italian and may be more generally understandable. Another option is Jota. This is the name used in Romance languages in the Iberian Peninsula, such as Spanish, Portuguese, and Catalan. As a brief note, without going into detail, the only acceptable standard pronunciation for the letter J is with the sound J, which is like the sound of the English J. The last option is regularized and also exists in Romanian. J. J. Please note that although J is an option, its pronunciation can be confused with the name for the letter G in Neolatin. Therefore, Via Neolatina recommends using I longa and Jota orally. Lo gioco. The game. Ka. Ka. Kappa. Kappa. Lo chilometro. The kilometer. L. L. Le. Le. Lo lacte. The milk. M. M. Me. Me. La mano. The hand. N. N. Ne. Ne. La notte. The night. O. O. L'uovo. The egg. The letter O can be pronounced in two ways. The first way is a closed O, like in the Portuguese word todo, o. The second way is an open O, like in the Portuguese word sorte, o. In the case of the open O, you can also think of it as being like the O you hear in the English word quarter, quarter, o. The closed O is pronounced when the O does not have a diacritic or when the O has an acute diacritic. The open O is pronounced when the O has a grave diacritic. Some examples of both the open O and closed O in Neolatin are gioco, meaning game, and ovo, meaning egg. It is interesting to note that the open O has left a mark in certain words in Spanish inherited from Latin. More specifically, in the form of the diphthong ue, such as in the Spanish juego and huevo. Pe. Pe. Lo pane. The bread. Cu. Cu. Lo liquido. The liquid. The letter Q is pronounced like a K and always appears followed by the letter U, which generally is pronounced in Neolatin, except in certain cases, which we will see later on. The first name for the letter R is pronounced with the trode R, like in Spanish and Italian. Since I cannot pronounce this sound myself, I will provide a sound clip.
R. R.
As for the second name, Re. Re. Ridere. To laugh. Esse. Esse. Se. Se. Lo sole. The sun. Te. Te. La televisione. The television. U. U. La universitate. The university. After a Q, the letter U is pronounced before the vowels A and O, such as in cuatro, meaning four, and obliquo, meaning oblique. Q is also generally pronounced before E or I. The only exceptions are certain words where the letter U is no longer pronounced in any Romance variety, such as in que, meaning the relative pronoun that, as in I need a phone that works, qui, meaning who, and ken, a synonym also meaning who. Compound words containing these exceptions are also exceptions, such as qualque, meaning some, like someday, and quionque, meaning anyone or whoever. You may be thinking, why is onque not an exception? This is because the etymology of onque is different from que. Onque comes from the Latin unquam. Like in onque, the sequences QUE and QUI, in other words, are completely pronounced. For example, donque, meaning so, questione, the issue or matter of a subject, cinque, meaning five, and tranquillo, meaning tranquil or calm. V. La vacca. The cow. W. V. Lo whisky. The whiskey. X. Lo texto. The text. The letter Y has various names. One option is Y. This is the most widespread name, used in Catalan, French, and Romanian. It is also recognized as a synonym for the letter Y in Portuguese, Spanish, and Italian. Another option is Y. This is the original Greek name, which is preserved in Portuguese and Italian. The third option is Y. This is the regularized name, which also exists in Spanish. Nueva York. New York. And now we reach the last letter of the Neolatin alphabet. Zeta. Or zeta. This sound is like the end of the English word lads. Z. La zebra. The zebra. It is important to mention that the letters Z, K, W, and Y appear mainly in internationally used technical terms and foreign loanwords that have not been adapted in Romance languages. And this concludes the tutorial. For more information about Neolatin, follow our social media profiles and participate in the Neolatin community. Gracias per la attenzione.